going to do, this first slide, is cover the basics, what lucid dreaming is, why you might want to do it, how it works, and crucially, today we're looking at the psychology of lucid dreaming. So the psychological benefits of lucid dreaming. Why would you want to do this? What benefit could lucid dreaming possibly have to your life and your psychological health? My answer is loads and loads of things. And I want to give you anecdotal reports as well as scientific studies that will hopefully prove that. So what is a lucid dream? This is the interactive bit. Who's got a nice definition?
Having autonomy and purpose, able to influence the dream purposefully.
Having autonomy, being able to influence the dream on purpose with intention, absolutely. Anything to add to that? No, because it's a pretty good definition, yeah. So, a lucid dream is a dream where you are actively aware of the fact you're dreaming as the dream is happening. So it's not just a really vivid dream. You'd be mistaken for thinking it is, though, because of the term lucid. The term lucid connotes clarity, clear seeing, something that was seen through light. Whereas actually that's not what defines a lucid experience. The definition of lucidity from a psychological point of view is the activation of self-reflective awareness within the seemingly unconscious dream state. The awakening of reactivation of self-reflective awareness within the seemingly unconscious dream state. So basically you're sound asleep, but you go, oh, I'm aware that I'm sound asleep. I'm aware that I'm dreaming. Oh, I've broken the thing. That is not accompanied by awakening. So you're not like half awake, half asleep. It's not in the hypnagogic state. It's not a shamanic journey. It's not an out-of-body experience. You're in REM dreaming sleep, rapid eye movement dreaming sleep. Anyone who knows anything about REM, someone in REM looks like this. You have muscular paralysis, very little movement. You're kind of out for the count, right? So it's not a kind of half awake, half asleep state. You're absolutely sleeping. And that's why, for many years, lucid dreaming wasn't accepted by mainstream scientific community because they said it was a paradox. How can you be both unconscious in REM dreaming sleep and conscious of the fact at the same time? It's impossible. Neurologically, it's impossible. No. We now know neurologically it's absolutely possible, and I'll show you the kind of the brain stuff a little bit later. So we know what it is. It's a dream where you know that you're dreaming as the dream is happening. How does it work? It can be spontaneous. A lot of people have spontaneous lucid dreams where you're in the dream and something in the dream lets you know that you're dreaming. So it might be like a dead relative, or you might be back at school when you're an adult. Hang on, what the hell am I doing back here? Oh, I must be dreaming. Who here has had the experience of spontaneous lucidity in a dream before? Okay, brilliant. For those who didn't raise their hand, or maybe for those who did too, who here has had an experience of being in a nightmare, and in the nightmare going, I've got to wake up, I've got to wake up? Anyone had that? Okay, that was also a lucid dream. Over a third of spontaneous lucid dreams in scientific reports have started as nightmares or anxiety dreams. Why is this? Simply because fear boosts our awareness. If you're in a dream with low level of awareness and something really scary happens, you go, I'm now more aware. And with that awareness, I'm more likely to see, hang on, how the hell did I get to a zombie apocalypse? Oh, I must be in a dream. Now, a little footnote here, this is a different talk, this is about the shadow work and stuff like that, but if you are ever lucky enough to become lucid in a nightmare, don't wake up. Every time you wake yourself from a nightmare, the psychological trauma, or simply the psychological energy that has led to the nightmare remains unintegrated. My best advice to you is, if you become lucid in a nightmare, as Krishnamurti said, the seeing is the doing. Simply stay in the nightmare knowing that it is simply a nightmare. That in itself can have life-changing results. My work with veterans over the last few years has been helping some of them to get to this stage. Because when you're having a PTSD flashback or PTSD nightmare that you're back in Iraq, the brain doesn't act like you're dreaming you're back in Iraq. The brain acts like you are back in Iraq. And actually these men and women will often wake up sweating, not sweating because they were so scared, but sweating because it was hot in Iraq when the thing occurred, when the incident occurred. I mean, amazing how the body responds to trauma if it's deeply ingrained PTSD trauma. So for these people, if you can train them to know, I'm not really back in Iraq in the traumatic experience, I'm dreaming I'm back in Iraq, that can be enough in itself to pick up the needle on the stuck record that is PTSD nightmares and allow the record to spin, allow the integration to occur. Because nightmares are good news. We don't want to not have nightmares. Nightmares are a sign of a healing mind. They're a sign of integration. But with PTSD, that kind of helpful system within the brain gets stuck. It becomes dysregulated. So we continue having these nightmares and eventually become re-traumatized by the nightmare itself. What it is, how does it work, how does it feel? Lucid dreams feel very real. People who think that a lucid dream is going to be, you know, like in films when they do dream scenes, and they say, oh, someone's in a dream, they always have smoke, and they always go to soft focus. I'm like, that is the opposite of a lucid dream. If you really want to show how a lucid dream is, move from normal definition to super HD to show you're in a lucid dream, because that's what it's like. For example, and this isn't hyperbole, this is fact, the lucid dream for most people is an experience of hyperreality. Hyperreality, why? Because right now your experience of reality, mediated through the 5 sense organs, through the filter of the sixth, is limited by those sense organs. Your sense of sight. How far can you see? How deep into this color blue can you go? How deep into the touch of the table can you feel? When you taste in this reality, your taste is limited by your taste buds, which we know as we get older seem to decline. When people have a lucid dream and then they email me and say, God, I could see every color. I could see every detail on the carpet. How was that? I say, because you weren't seeing through your eyes, you were seeing through your mind. If you eat chocolate cake in a lucid dream, something that my wife loves to do, she's a brilliant lucid dreamer, but because she has so many lucid dreams, sometimes she doesn't always use them for kind of psychological stuff. She just has a little bit of fun. And she says, the chocolate cake you taste in a lucid dream is amazing. And of course it is, because you're not tasting through your taste buds. There's no limit. You're tasting through your mind. In fact, interesting study Jane Gackenbach did, very small scale, like about 5 women or something, but these 5 women in America were reporting that they were losing weight through lucid dreaming. She kind of questioned them on this, and what it was that eating chocolate cake in a lucid dream was so realistic that the brain was sending satiation signals to the gut saying, I'm full. So the next day they were less likely to engage in sugary snacks, leading to indirect weight loss. That's nuts, right? So lucid dreams feel really, really realistic. This is why lucid dream sex becomes so seductive, because the touch of the skin and internally generated mindgasm, you know, that's really something to experience. Essentially, most of the lucid dreaming techniques, so I teach the ones from Tibetan Buddhism. I lived in a Tibetan Buddhist center for almost 8 years and took refuge in the Tibetan Buddhist lineage when I was 19. So I've been pretty much steeped in that for the last decade or so. And a lot of the techniques I teach are within the Buddhist tradition, but a lot of them are the kind of Western ones too. And in fact, there is no Western and Tibetan techniques, because the mind is the mind. The mind was the same mind 1,000 years ago in Himalayan Tibet as it is now. They're essentially self-hypnosis techniques, certain visualization practices, use of affirmation, use of the sleep cycle. So there's for example, Stephen LaBerge's famous technique, the mild method, mnemonic-induced lucid dream. You actually find almost exactly the same technique in a 16th century dream yoga manual quoted by the Dalai Lama. So there are so many of the Western techniques that you do actually find in the ancient Tibetan tradition. So use whichever work for you. But my point with this is that you can teach yourself to lucid dream. It is a learnable skill. I'm not a natural lucid dreamer. I taught myself. I taught myself young, so it might have been slightly easier to learn when I was a teenager, because you have very long REM periods when you're a teenager, which is why you should allow your teenagers to sleep long if they can. Like school start times are terrible, really, really bad. If you can allow your teenager to sleep a bit longer. You can teach yourself how to do this. There will be some natural lucid dreamers in the audience, of course, but for those of you who think, I can't do it, I don't even remember my dreams, you absolutely can. I've worked with people with full dream blackout, and within maybe 2-3 months of training, they're having lucid dreams. So everyone can do this. It is a learnable skill.